Like with the prose and natural science passages, in order to clarify the process of how you answer certain questions, we are not going to go over the questions in order. Instead, we are again going to go over them in groups based on how you approach answering the questions. So the first group of questions is the kind where, after you read the question, you can answer it in your own words before you look at the answer choices. And once you have your answer using your brain voice, then you just find the choice that matches your version of the answer. So let's start with number 5. According to the next to last sentence in paragraph 1, the word integrity most nearly refers to. Okay, so remember, this is a vocab and context question, which means it's asking you to find the meaning of a word in context. So let's go back to the passage and get some context. Right here, the line reads, according to this account, the company made an informed, cynical, and impressively coordinated decision that payouts to families of burn victims were more cost-effective than improving fuel tank integrity. Okay, so what does integrity mean here? Or another way to think about it is, what word or words could you replace integrity with? Payouts to families of burn victims were more cost-effective than improving fuel tank blank. Well, so maybe something like status or improving fuel tank quality? Okay, so now that you have understood the word in the context of the sentence or passage, let's look at our answer choices. Well, clearly choice C, sound, unimpaired, or perfect condition, best matches our answer. So we select C and we move on to number 7. According to the passage, journalist Mark Dowie could best be generalized as someone who thinks. Well, Mark Dowie is the only name mentioned in the passage, and hopefully you remember who he is. If not, then you know you need to head back to the passage and determine what he thinks first before you move on. So whether you did or did not need to return to the passage, you can sum up his thoughts as the journalist that wrote about how he thought Ford was wrong for choosing profits over safety in the Pinto situation. So reviewing the answer choices, we can see that choice B, corporations view profits as more important than people, is the best answer. Okay, let's look at number 9. In the third to last paragraph, when the author states, Ford was not a monolithic entity with a single objective and universally shared knowledge, he most likely wants the reader to infer which of the following. So first, we really need to understand the quote from the passage, so let's start by rephrasing the quote in our own words. It starts with, Ford was not a monolithic entity. Okay, so you may or may not understand this first part. Perhaps you know that mono in monolithic means one. Well, that's enough to get the idea that Ford was not one thing. And then the quote continues by saying, with a single objective and universally shared knowledge. Okay, so like with one goal and everyone at Ford has the same knowledge. So if we put all this together, the quote basically is saying, Ford was not one thing with one goal and everyone at Ford has the same knowledge. Okay, so what can we infer from this idea? Well, you should remember from the passage that the author believes that Ford was not one thing with one goal and everyone has the same knowledge, right? He believes that they didn't even intend to put so many people at risk and maybe didn't even really know that such defects in the Pinto existed. So looking through the answer choices, we see that choice D, Ford had many departments with varying responsibilities within the organization, and they did not set out with the overriding goal of developing unsafe autos. So yes, this expresses both ideas, that Ford is not one thing, and that they didn't intend to create an unsafe vehicle. So we select choice D and we move on.